And welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're moving now into our second segment for the morning, LinkedIn for professionals and how to get yourself on there. We've got the pro in to tell us all about it. Minor Larry is in. He's a digital marketing coordinator, digital marketing strategist. He's in with us. Minor, welcome, buddy. Good morning and Happy New Year.
Thank you guys, and Happy New Year's to you guys, and thank you for having me on your show so very early.
You sound so grateful for this early alarm.
He does. But we were looking at the topics for this morning, and this one really stuck out. As a matter of fact, on Extra, we heard one of our previous guests mentioning, man, I really want to get more into it. So it brings me to ask the question, LinkedIn for professionals. First of all, what is LinkedIn?
Fantastic question. So LinkedIn is actually a new channel for professionals only. So if you look at it, it's the social media for professionals. Yeah. So when you're thinking about your career path or your work or work advice, that's where you go to. And that's what makes this platform so much different than your regular social media, because when you're on social media like Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, you're not really focused about thinking career path or work or learning new trends. While when you go on LinkedIn, even though you might not visit it as often as your other social medias, that's on top of mind when you're browsing through there. You want to look at articles that are relatable to what you're experiencing at work, or you want to get experience shared across different platforms. So it's quite different. It's a quite different
network. Connect with people who are more who have your same interests or in your same industry.
Yes, and they've been really good at building community groups. LinkedIn even has this local LinkedIn. It's not available for Belize yet, but they actually have like a local LinkedIn groups where you could chime in, and based on your interaction and engagement, you become a leader, right? And LinkedIn does offer that service. I think 2 years ago they started asking professionals, do you want to be a mentor and give advice? So you could turn that feature on as a professional. I have that feature turned on my and this 2019 they actually started doing beta live videos. So they've actually released videos on live for specific professionals.
Wow.
So let's go back to it. It's interesting because you said it so right. I've had a LinkedIn profile. There is a very big difference between what you would post on a LinkedIn versus, or even just the setup of your profile. And that's where I wanted to start. How important is it that you are aware of how you present yourself on LinkedIn, especially if it's a space that you hope to open yourself up to new professional opportunities?
That's a perfectly good question, Marlene. And I think 3 things would be my advice. 1, make sure you have a professional looking photo, right? Don't go searching for a photo when you were on a beach diving, unless you're an influencer and that's what you want to portray. So make sure your photo gives off good vibes. If you're an electrician, if you're a carpenter, then dress the part, so that's what you want to portray in a professional manner. So think about that, and a lot of people really don't think about that and just crop a photo of their family and then you're looking sideways. I've gotten really good recommendations from not from my LinkedIn profile, but from my WhatsApp, which is sort of like an extension of my business group. They're like, wow, you have a great smile in your WhatsApp group. And I'm like, I never thought of that. But people do business with you because they like you first. If you're not likable, they're not going to reach out to you for a professional opinion.
And primary, they could get that from your photo.
They could get that from your photo.
But your photo shows a lot, And
the second one would be your headline, right? And here's, there's been a great debate between what you put for your headline.
First person, third person.
And what you put on it. Most people, if you're looking for professional growth and career, it should just be your job title. Because if I'm looking for a digital marketing strategist and I put my tagline, which is everyone has a special sauce, then I may not be reaching the right target, right?
Maybe McDonald's will reach out for
exactly. So, but in that, I mean in a digital marketing way, right? But somebody just browsing through my profile may not relate to what that really means. So just having your job title and maybe a pipe and a little description more, that would do it. Right? So keep it simple. And the third part.
So be sure to put something in there. Put your title first. And
I think for me, and this was my first lesson learned in LinkedIn many years ago, before I only had a profile and I wasn't taking care of it, was make sure you get really good recommendations. And I really got a really good recommendation from the regional director of Google in Colombia, who I collaborated in 2016. You know, he left a really good review for me that I didn't see until maybe a year after, when I started seeing a lot more reviews. But that really fueled up getting recommendations. And you know, a lot of times people might say, hey, you know, I don't want to ask my boss for a review, you know, because you might not get a review that you're expecting. But you just have to, you know, and LinkedIn does it in such a subtle way where you could just ask people in your circle, professionals who've collaborated. And you know, LinkedIn even gives you the option of saying, hey, what facility did we work together? Were we work colleagues? Were you my superior? Did we do a special project? And so that really helps to connect and get your online footprint better.
So basically you could get recommendations from other folks, and then people are actually seeing that, and which tells much more about you and how professional you are.
Exactly.
And so there are recommendations, which are actual written recommendations, and then there are reviews for your skill sets as well.
Yes. So I think 1 year ago, because before people could just endorse you having a skill, like one of my skills is social media, digital marketing. But what LinkedIn has started doing a year ago is actually validating and verifying what these skills are. So now you have them listed, but you will have a verified beside it if you actually take an online quiz and you pass it, right? So if you don't pass it, then so if you could go in the review section and you scroll on to the last one, you'll see the first review I got was from Alejandro Rico, who works at Google, who still works at Google. But definitely having those skill sets will help recruiters to find, so I've received 25 recommendations, right? And it's all the way to the bottom there.
So you'll see that people basically just say what it's like working with you, and kind of, it's like a thumbs up, thumbs down, but with actual experience. Yeah,
it's kind of like a personal shout out, you know, saying, hey, I know Marlene, she's a really great person, so I'm endorsing you in such a way, especially if they have a larger following or influence. You know, think about somebody from, in my expertise, being endorsed by Google, because I'm also a Google consultant, has really elevated me to network with people of that seniority, if you really think about it.
All right, so on there, you're able to have real-time conversations with others?
Not necessarily. I mean, this section is just the recommendations. What they do encourage a lot is to put posts, or you could do an article of your expertise, or a white paper, right? So that's when you start becoming, you know, brand yourself. You know, so if you want to know how to run ads on social media and how to price them, then, you know, I might write an article and post it and be like, what are you really worth online? And then I might get reached out by different companies saying, hey, could you help me price my online ads? We have no idea how to do it, right?
So that was the endorsement that you're talking about. It kind of ranks which ones you get endorsed for the most. And so it's, see, this is why you're here, because this is why you're endorsed for these skills. So have you found, before we move any further, because I think we're diving into like profile and how to set it up, and I'm just wondering, are a lot of Belizeans on LinkedIn in the first place? Like, are we using it?
I think there's more Belizeans than 2 years ago. And I think, so think about who would use LinkedIn, right? And LinkedIn is kind of like your online resume, if you ask me, right? With more personalized recommendations. But I think more and more HR are using it. I know in my current role, I wasn't even asked for a recommendation letter. You know, all they asked for was my CV, and that was it. You know, and I know in the past, if you think about when you guys were, you had to ask for recommendation letters. Now LinkedIn is doing that for you, where, you know, nobody asked you to give minor a recommendation, but you gladly did so because you had a good experience working with me. And so that counts a lot more than if I'm your friend, and you know how it goes here in Belize. And you write me up a nice little letter, and then you end up with the job and then you don't really perform the way you're supposed to perform. And I think a lot more companies are looking at so much less the qualifications in terms of degrees,
background,
and more looking at your skill sets and what you're capable of delivering.
Yeah.
Of
So.
course.
And especially if you have a skill or a talent that is marketable outside of Belize, because outside of Belize, this is used a lot. Job offers are made here.
I've been invited to do speaker presentations. I mean, 2 years ago, I went to Uruguay to do a marketing congress.
Okay.
Last year, I got invited to go to Las Vegas.
all through
LinkedIn.
exposure on LinkedIn.
Yeah, people have reached out to me and said, hey, we're looking for a digital marketing person with your profile who has a lot of experience in the Caribbean tourism. And, that's how they found me.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
So it is a very useful tool to expose yourself in a professional way.
Yes.
To people in the Caribbean, people in of
I
course
agree.
North America. And okay, so
I like how you said it though. It's kind of like your online resume.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about do's and don'ts. We started off with that picture.
Perfect,
That's
yes.
important. You want a professional picture, or you want a picture that represents the work that you do.
Agreed. So 3 things. Make sure you have your profile completed with a nice, good vibe photo. Make sure you have a headline. Make sure you write a little paragraph about what your expectations are and your ambitions. People like to hire people based on passion and ambitions.
Of course.
What you shouldn't do, and I think some people are doing it a little, is post any family messages. It's not your regular social media like I mentioned. So if you've written, like in my case, I've written a couple of white papers, I would go on here and put it up, right?
Yeah.
And then it would be data. I'm thinking of starting something new this year where we're going to write, something called Belize and tourism trends, because I am in the loop of so much information that might help other like-minded folks. I have a guy who calls me maybe once a month, and he's like, hey, Minor, I'm going to have to pay you at some point, but he just calls me to pick on my head. And I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? Do you think this would work? So just having that information out there would have more people like him who data is not really available in Belize as yet to become a resource, right?
Okay.
So make sure you write relatable content on your post. That's what you should do. Make sure that you write not just relatable content, but also content starters, right? So what people want to know more about, right? So those are the things you really should be posting, and it should be industry based, right?
We had
What
one
else
don't. We
should
had
you
one
say?
don't. Yes.
Yes.
We had one don't, and that was not right. Family.
I think that would be the only thing. Some people, because LinkedIn has a slower pace algorithm, and by that I mean it's not as fast paced as Facebook or Twitter. What I posted maybe 2 weeks ago. I mean, my last post was last year December. To be frank with you. And that's when I met Richard Branson when he was here in Belize, right? And I wrote a little paragraph about the experience I had with him. But that was it, and I got me like 400 likes and a couple of shares, right? But I think it's not about the content, it's about the quality of the content.
Of course.
So don't overexpose yourself on LinkedIn, because people are not really on it. Like I mentioned, they're not spending more than 2 hours a week perhaps here in Belize looking at it. And just think about when last you went on your LinkedIn.
Just now when I read when we
like,
started
okay,
this
is it
topic.
still active?
So it's, and that's the thing, because not only that, if we think of it like this is a potential employer or client that I may be working with, maybe that's how I frame my mind in terms of what I want to share, it's more work oriented. In fact, the newsfeed for LinkedIn is distinctly different. It's articles about your industry and people who you follow and
best
things.
practices, because everything is work career focused. There's nothing about funny stuff on it, and there's nothing about family gatherings. We leave all that stuff for the other social media.
Okay.
And for every time you accomplish something new in a professional,
exactly.
Yes, you
could
try to
update
get it.
It's a milestone, and it elevates you also, even your job titles, because LinkedIn actually does give you different access depending on your seniority. Right?
Excellent.
So, what else do we need to do? There's also the important fact that you want to connect with people. So you have a LinkedIn profile, you have to have, it's not called friends, it's called connections. Yeah.
Yeah, so again, because it's not a friend social media, it's a professional social media. So you're going to be connected with like-minded people.
Yeah.
Like that's how I found a speaking gig also, because someone who I spoke with 3 years ago in Miami during a conference recommended me, he endorsed me, and then, other people are reaching out to me for those type of things, do digital marketing workshops or trainings, and those kind of things is what this kind of fuels through. And if you look at all my connections, unfortunately, there's only a few in Belize, because there's only a few like-minded folks in Belize doing the things that I'm doing, but I do have a larger connectivity, if you may, with folks in Minneapolis or Miami or Canada or South America for the same reason, right?
Is it linked to your other social media pages like your Instagram, your Facebook, and different things like that? Or would you recommend it?
No, I wouldn't. So whatever you post on here on LinkedIn actually is very close when it comes to that. They don't want you to grab a link from Facebook and put it on LinkedIn. You actually de-rank your reach when you do that. And they've been very well at doing that, because they want you to create unique career work content for this platform.
And back to building connections, what's the etiquette on how you connect with someone? Because I don't know if it's the same, but I know you couldn't just connect with anyone. You had to have like similarities before.
I think there's not really, I think that's been removed.
Okay.
So you could pretty much connect with anyone you could search for, as long as they're publicly open, because you could have your profile on private or public.
Okay.
Right? So if you're a public brand, or you're like yourself, you're a public personality, your LinkedIn should be public, so that you're open to reaching out. Because people might write you or comment on things, but you won't see it because you're on private.
That's true.
Right?
Or if they're searching for
you. Or if they're searching for you, right? And so I think that's another thing that you have to keep in mind, that, the searchability of, especially if you're working, like for you guys can set a feature saying, hey, I'm open to other options. So LinkedIn actually does that for you. So if you're looking, that's your way of saying, hey, I'm looking to move, right? So you feel free to reach out, right?
Or to other opportunities, because that's also, I think, one of the things that you can look at. So what are the other benefits? So somebody who's watching right now, maybe they do the Facebook thing, maybe they have fun on Instagram or whatever other social media is out there. Why would you say to them, even though LinkedIn isn't as big in Belize, that you need to perhaps if you have one, you pay attention to it, and if you don't have one, you should get one?
And I think I'm going to go back. I was mentioning before the show, I traveled to Mexico actually to meet with a couple of businesses there. And one of them said something that resonated in me. He said, Minor, why would you not invest in something that's going to be the future? Right? So that's it. That's it. All these younger Belizeans are coming from college, and they know this 10 times better than you and I. Right? So get with the program. This is going to be the future. So if you're looking for a job, you better have these up and running for you, because that's your personal brand. Right? So start building those personal connections and recommendations and skill sets, because this takes a while. It's not like you're gonna have a nice profile over time with 50 different recommendations from 50 digital experts. It does take a while, and it's not easy to achieve. So get it going, because other folks are coming who are more hungry, who are more ambitious, and they're looking to come back to Belize.
And it's also key, because some of the big companies are looking to invest if they're starting up something. I mean, it helps a lot. If I search for digital marketing strategist, Belize, you'll pop up.
Definitely.
And if I need a hotel manager, they'll pop up, or an accountant. They'll pop up, because that's how I can find people. And so if you're looking for job opportunities, that's one
This
way
is
as well.
definitely, yeah.
So maybe they look at your profile and say, this person is interesting.
Can you see who looks at your profile?
You can if you pay the professional membership fee,
Yeah.
yes. But if not, they give you a little preview of who looked at your, or they would tell you, they won't tell you the CEO of Channel 5 looked at my profile, but they would tell you production company CEO was looking at your profile.
Or sometimes it tells you the company, like 3 people from BTB looked at your profile.
Exactly.
So you know that they have looked.
Yeah, they're
What
scouting, right? They're doing
So
their
at least they're
homework.
interested in your professional profile.
I think in today's day and age, one of the things that, especially for different countries, if folks trying to move from one point to another, which of course expand on your knowledge. So this is definitely a good way for me to get a job, probably in the Caribbean. Being that we're linked CSME wise, so this would definitely be one of those ways, right?
Definitely. This really opens up your horizons.
Yeah.
You know, not just locally, but then you become marketable internationally. You know, so.
Have you seen Belizeans use LinkedIn, like really having a good representation, or you think we have some work to do?
I think we still have some work to do. I would say there's a few Belizeans really doing it well, you know, who are out there. They've been exposed to other things and what other people are doing with LinkedIn. Business-wise, I don't think we're there yet. And in advertising for LinkedIn, yes, advertising is a lot more targeted, but it's also a lot more costly. It would run you like $5 to $6 US per click. So unless you're in the business of selling products of like $30,000 or more, then it would make sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's why you don't see a lot of small businesses on LinkedIn. You know, you see professionals, consultants, engineers. I've also seen Belizean attorneys, right? Because they want to get, you know, representation for companies locally who may need an attorney to set up shop. You know, so those are the type of professionals you see more on LinkedIn because it's more within the sphere of what LinkedIn can do for them.
And the key thing is to, I think, you mentioned attorneys, and if you put your specific areas of expertise, like if somebody's looking just for that, that can help. Is there perhaps a particular type of professional that will really benefit from having a LinkedIn profile?
I think realty companies would, for sure, and attorneys. Those have been the two that, and any financial service person, you know, those are the ones that are really, for Belize, that have really benefited. And so far, I have not seen maybe more than 2 realty companies been on LinkedIn. Maybe I've missed the others, but they just don't have a presence. Right?
So we're missing. So some people are really missing an opportunity here.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Okay.
So definitely get your profile.
Clearly, John doesn't have one.
I really don't
He's
have
thinking
one.
to himself, okay,
one.
maybe
My
I'm
wife
missing something.
does. She does, but I don't.
She can manage yours.
Yeah, I know, right?
You'll have to pay her because that would be a job. So there you go.
She has a profile. I saw it actually while they were scrolling as well.
And here are 3 tips for those that want to get into LinkedIn in 2020, right? 1, make sure you have a good photo, right? Good vibes. 2, make sure you use a hashtag. There's so much people not using hashtag, and actually hashtags work really good on LinkedIn. Again, going back to what you mentioned, if you look digital marketing in Belize, you'll see me popping up, right? Because LinkedIn does a really good job at doing that, the searchability based on hashtags. So make sure you hashtag your articles, make sure you hashtag your posts. And thirdly, make sure you use video. You know, last year, LinkedIn started doing live beta videos, so they're going to launch that probably in this first quarter. So you'll see people being able to do live videos at conferences or at events. And I think that's really going to stand out because there's only 1% of the 650 million people using LinkedIn. There's only 1% of them actually doing videos.
Wow. And there's some learning opportunities too. I think like some people have some courses that you can access.
Yes, actually there's a couple of LinkedIn experts right now developing learning courses that you could take. So those will also become available pretty soon. You know, they're doing them by industry and by market size.
Of course.
So it's really gonna, you know, they're really leveling up. And I think one of the things that I can see, and I haven't seen it, but perhaps would happen this year is for LinkedIn to actually partner up with Skype.
Yeah.
You know, because Skype is very work related, it's Microsoft based, and so is LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn got purchased, I think, a year and a half ago by Microsoft, and so
we'll see an
there's
integration
there should
between
be
the two.
that's what I'm predicting.
Imagining, yeah.
It could happen.
So
you
people
run
will
there,
start
so.
doing job interviews via Skype through your LinkedIn profile. Who knows
Exactly.
what the
Wow.
possibilities
Wow.
are? No,
Exactly.
I'm not saying. I'm saying
But
maybe.
it could. I mean, in this day and age,
Yeah.
that's already happening.
You do
know,
Skype interviews, right?
all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
You did.
do.
I think you did a recent, what do you call it? Speech through Skype, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you were mentioning that.
Yes.
So it shows that's just where we are.
So
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
it's definitely
It's the
something to look
future
forward to.
again.
It is.
There's one more thing I wanted to mention. So, you know, they were pulling through profiles, and one of the things that's key is that you have to be able to put out professionally your highlights. It's like your highlight reel. And sometimes that's a bit uncomfortable for people.
Yes.
It's almost showy.
It is.
I remember the first time I had a friend tell me, you know, like what you need to add in, and I'm like, it just sounds so.
But here's the tip with that. I think about it as a teaser for your
Yeah.
next employer. So you don't want to put out everything out there,
Everything.
but just enough to
Like your full
have them
terms of
give you a
reference.
call and be like, hey Marlene,
Yeah.
can you come in for an interview?
Yeah.
Right? So just give them, just tease enough, but you don't have to, you know, disclose the full
The
details.
full information.
So
yeah.
I know, going back to what you mentioned, some people are not
Yeah.
as comfortable as that's
others.
obvious.
Yeah.
Well,
So
because I think a part of traditional speaking, everybody used to say, "Oh, the work speaks for itself," but you're laughing, right? Because that's not the current world we're in now.
no, and I think going back to what we talked about earlier, the skill sets where before anybody could just be accepting all different skill sets. At least for me, would be like HTML5, Joomla, WordPress, digital strategy. But now LinkedIn is really taking a step back and saying, hey, are we really representing the employers who are seeking people with these skill sets? So let's give them a little quiz, you know,
Yeah.
and if you pass it, you get a little verification check mark on it. I mean, I
Yeah.
have like 55 different quizzes I haven't taken just because I haven't had the time.
Yeah.
You know, but at some point I'm gonna have to do that to validate the work I do.
Nice.
So it makes it better for you when you start to take these quizzes and
Of
up
course,
your score.
of
Okay.
course.
All right.
Can your company have a page?
Definitely.
Like, okay, so it's not just
Definitely.
a person. Like if
So your company could have a page, and then you could have, let's say, so Channel 5 could have a LinkedIn, and you guys say you work at LinkedIn, and you guys could be like brand ambassadors for Channel 5, posting things that you do at work that will then benefit the LinkedIn of Channel 5. You know,
Oh,
so it's
wow.
like a holding strategy.
yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. So we went through some of the do's, some of the don'ts. One, remember it's a professional network.
Yeah.
That's a very key place to start from. That picture, you said the good vibe picture, very important. Use hashtags
And videos.
and videos.
Little videos. And LinkedIn actually has the in-video app, so you could actually go on it and shoot a video from LinkedIn and post it right away. So you don't have to shoot it and then upload it. No, they have
direct.
it's direct.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
All right.
So there you have it. And one more question. So because I saw that message button and I've thought to myself how many times I've seen employment requests through things like Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
Since LinkedIn is a professional page, do you message about job vacancies there? Is that proper etiquette?
I would say you could, because it's a career social network.
Okay.
Or I would say it's more correct than doing it in other social media
Yeah.
networks, because whoever's running the company, like in this case Channel 5, LinkedIn would be able to speak to that or redirect that to HR.
Yeah.
So I think it's a better medium than the other social medias.
Okay.
Right? Whether it's correct still, that's going to be a community decision
Yeah.
as we transform more and more into a digital community.
Okay. All right. So there you have it. If you are looking to build that professional profile, if you're someone who knows and sees the opportunities that can exist in networking online, You got to make sure your LinkedIn is in order. And Minor, thank you so much for some of the tips.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure a lot of people in 2020 jumping online and getting the process started right now. Good luck, and we hope this has been helpful for you.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, what about new hobbies? We are going to be introducing you to jewelry making and handcrafts. So that's coming up after the break.